This is Elliot Wave Sage. I want to go ahead and do market update. And like always, none of this is financial advice. Always do what's best for you. So market acted exactly as expected. If you had watched my series of videos over the last 4 or 5 days, I posted. It's pretty much not done anything unusual. You know, we had thought about this like 1-2-1-2 pattern. But I'm going to go with a more not as bearish of a forecast. But I do want to point out, looking at the RSI, at least on the 45-minute, if we go to the 4-hour, even the 4-hour, we could still call it a 1-2-1-2, right? This could still be a 1-2-1-2. So, you know, I think what I'm going to do is just label it like that until, you know, some new information comes out. I think that's the way to label this. So very, very significant dump on the news. A lot of people want to blame Yellen's comments that she wouldn't guarantee all bank deposits and make that blanket statement. Believed, that people believe that that will start bank runs again. And it really should make you think about your situation, right? If they're not going to have a blanket guarantee, in each case will be handled separately based on its own merits, whether the bank is a systemically significant bank or not. Why would you take the chances, right? So I think there's going to be a lot of a movement of money in the next week or two. So she kind of, threw some cold water on the parade that we had going into this meeting, that everything was okay. And then Powell pretty much kind of talked about this as a non-event. He pretty much talked about it as, yeah, this bank or two failed, but we had it contained, it's isolated, kind of like a one-off. We're still, nothing's changed. We expect maybe there could be a hard landing. Now we're going to see credit tighten up. So it's almost like as if they want to use this to help fight their deflation. So it almost gave me the impression they want this market to go down. And I think that's why people are really distraught, all the commentators after the news, because they basically, the two people that came on and said, it's not about the stock and the indices, it's about the macroeconomic picture. And they felt that the situation is not going to get that bad again with the banks failing. So that's what happened today. So now I would say everything has to go back to pre-banking crisis, in terms of where we were trading, what happened. And all this hopium is going to get unwound very quickly. It was never really warranted. So I believe we'll be down to 380 before you know it. And then, of course, there'll be a counter trend rally here and there. But I do believe this is a major high, where this topped off today. And if we were to break that high, that would be significant. That would be significant change to count. So we'll just see what happens. So then the Dow Jones, massive dump. The inverse head and shoulder breakout failed. It was a false breakout, very bearish. And we are coming up against the downtrend line here. And once we go back below that, I believe it could really accelerate the downside. And I do believe this is how I would label the Dow: 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Then the triple Qs, it did make a new high. It finished 5 waves up, so it could be done. Now this could be a 1-2, but if the indices, everything's going to turn down, it would make no sense this would go up. So it looks like it's done, and you have to force this count, this like expanded flat, run-in flat type count. And there's probably other ways to look at it. I'll just leave it like this for now. But I do think this will definitely have some downside, but it does risk being like a W, and then like a flat, an X, and then a Y, and then later. So we have to keep an eye on this, but I definitely think it's more downside come in. We should trade somewhere in this area pretty confidently. Of course, if we break all this support, it's going to be a waterfall. It's going to be a one hell of a sell-off. And then, of course, the IWM, I mean, this is all it could bounce. Look at that. That's all we could get. So bearish. The financials are very bearish unless we can get another push higher. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. Very bearish instrument, the Russell, and it should be because we have a long way to go to the downside if that's a 1-2. So then the futures, pretty much like I said, everything hit the target areas and reject it. Here we even had an area, but kind of missed it. This one it was so tough, and I still think it could still pop, but I don't know. Very bearish if that's all you can get out of the Russell. Bitcoin did top out like we expected here. It got a little bit higher, and now the dump. There's some Coinbase, Tron investigation, different news. So if you're in Bitcoin, you really need this 25.2 to hold for wave 5. You really want to see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would negate this bearish scenario. If we break under 25, then I do believe you could go to new lows in Bitcoin and crypto down to the 11,000 area. So we'll have to wait and see, but this could be done right now. And then oil is in the sell area, like I mentioned, and it got rejected. It should trade lower. Gold and silver, again, I like this 5-wave down. Looks like 2 is done. We should be breaking down in gold soon, and also I would expect interest rates maybe catching a bid and maybe starting this wave 5 push. VIX found support in this area and bounced, of course, like we expected. Now we should see if we could do another leg higher. If we do make another leg higher and break 30, then that should open the door to 41, 42, 44 for the massive 303 sell-off. And then the dollar index hit the area to buy. Buyers have come in. We're off the low. So this we really want to see 102 hold, and that should be good to go. Then that's the market. So the direction in general is now going to be lower. I believe we've started the next sequence lower, and we'll go down, and of course there'll be bounces in between. Like I said, I think it's a 1-2, 1-2, but we'll have to wait and see. We should be getting if this is a 3 of 3 of 3 type move of the C leg, we should definitely have a big gap down and run, and gap and run, like a 3-day, like, just sell, over. We should have over 1,000 point Dow sell-offs like we had in March 2020. Boom, 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 and then we gyrate around and bottom. If this is where we're gonna bottom. If it's a grand super cycle, guys, I think it will be just like one fat candle, another one, and then another one in a super crash to 160 with an epic bounce that would fail to wherever it ends. That's how I think. If it's the grand super cycle, I don't think it is. I think stocks like Nvidia and Meta and Apple, they're going to hold the market up. Microsoft, that prevent that from happening. So that's my thinking for now. But I do think we still have more downside coming, and the market is reacting the way I had expected it to. And now with this turn lower, now just from a trader's mentality, getting in here shorts is good. Now you just let the market stop you out, and you just hold no matter whatever happens. So you could get this 1-2 and come down like that. That could happen. One could continue, so we don't know, but it's not going to be in a straight line. So then commodities, NRGD, I showed this last night. Nice bounce out of it. I'm looking for 483, but it could easily go much higher than that. But I'm not looking to be too greedy on this one. But we'll see. We'll see. But I do think it should get to there. And that means most of these are going down. Most of these XLEs and XOMs. You can see XLE in the short area dumped. XOM, I think probably dumped. Yeah, that's probably done. So these are all heading lower. So that's commodities, gold and silver. The GDX mentioned we have 5 waves down here, 3 up. So that should be done here, heading lower. GDX. Then let's go to financials. Okay, so FRC is kind of going back to this low. It should go lower. We had Capital One, again, a lot of rumors on the internet about CDS is blowing out and issues. So I was looking here, you have a massive drop, a very shallow connector. So that would bring you down to $31 from 91. So I just couldn't help myself, and I bought puts on that because it's just too juicy to ignore that. And again, if this is all the bounce you got, I mean, then this is in a lot of trouble. And the CDS spreads is the reason that caught my interest, how they're blowing out. And I don't know nothing about this bank, so I'm not saying it's a bad bank, and it should theoretically find the bottom here at 31, and but it just seems very bearish. So we'll look for that. And then just looking around, how's UBS doing? So it corrected up a second swing, and now it's in. Now it fell out there. So just this again 1 2. Just kind of looking around. Wells Fargo, maybe that's weak. I would, again, you would think it could get a bigger bounce here. I mean, but that's all it got. It did break the cycle on whatever that was. So I mean, it should bounce more, but we're not getting that from the Russell. So I just don't know. Is it that bearish, these banks? And again, if it breaks down, we should be heading much lower. So, but there's a lot of opportunity, I think, in financials to go short before the news today. And Yellen just put the nail in the coffin for these guys. And I think she's not stupid. I think she did it to get this sell-off going. Again, they need the equities. They got to get this liquidity out of the system. They got to get equities down one way or the other, and so we'll need to wait and see. But again, as always, people are buying the dip in the futures because it's, again, just such a good deal. Because there's a lot of people that just are still, they just don't believe that things are going to be bad. But the problem is the rate increases can continue, and they're going to stay high. You're going to have more bank issues. So no matter what happens in this too, I do think, it's very dangerous to try to be long this market, because it just takes the wrong bank to go on belly up over the weekend, or some other, corporate entity that can't roll their paper over, and then everything freezes up, and then you happen to be stuck in a call or long position over that weekend. So just keep that in mind. But I do think for now, more downside, and I think that's the idea. I think the bears are going to get back control of this market if they haven't already. So, but yeah, so I do think we'll see how it goes. I do see the fear kind of building in on the people on TV, on Twitter Spaces. You can hear the fear. And I do feel like they'll be yelling, and it looks like it'll be, they know nothing. Janet Yellen knows nothing, and is going to be yelling, and that's healthy. That needs to happen. That emotion, we need that fear. We never got it in this part of the leg of the correction. I do think that's coming, and once we get that fear, and then the capitulation, and then the despair and hopelessness, then the correction is over or the bear market is over. And again, if you believe in the grand super cycle crash, it'll be we're about to have a major calamity that none of us can even contemplate in the next couple weeks to cause that, because it would be more lights out. Like we wouldn't, it would be just, you know, a complete unraveling where we won't even bounce through there will be no, there's just be big candles. So I don't, again, what could that be? Could it be China invades Taiwan? I don't think that would even do it. It'd have to be, like I said, I speculated nukes going off would do it. A disease that actually kills a lot of people, you know, if it's like another bubonic plague type disease, pandemic, that would do it. We could see if a major bank failed overnight, somebody like a household name that's like solid as a rock, and they just, you know, you just can't, no one could ever imagine, and they just don't open up shop and they're belly up and everybody's shit out of luck. And I won't even name a name, just take one of your household names that seems unthinkable. If we wake up one Monday and that happened, that would probably end the grand super cycle more than likely. The panic that would cause. So then the other, you know, I can't think of any other scenarios that are like plausible to get that kind of panic in the market. But again, yeah, the bears make a case, right? We've shown, you know, on a bigger time frame, you could make a case that we're 5 waves up, right? And I always post, is it that easy? Where you have, you know, is it really this simple? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with divergence, and the monthly's got to have to go oversold, and this thing just dumps somewhere in between, you know, 10,000, potentially retesting the 2.9 lows. I mean, it would be one hell of a crash, but it would take some significant news. You know, even, you know, Trump being arrested, that wouldn't do it. It'd have to be something, you know, maybe that's another scenario, right? Trump's arrested, and then there's like, you know, riots turning to, you know, fighting and, you know, domestic terrorism type situations, and it gets out of hand and spirals out of control. Another could be a debt default. The United States does not raise its debt ceiling in time, and then it defaults, or because of that they're not able to backstop like banks like they just did, you know, because there's no money. There's literally no money. They legally can't have the money, and it's like the worst possible time to have the debt ceiling hit, when companies and banks are failing randomly. So I think there is some ingredients out there to make a grand super cycle crash happen. It's just I don't see how they come together quite yet, but I do think maybe the most plausible would be debt ceiling mistake, you know, where maybe they don't default intentionally, but they mismanage the date of when the hard stop is, or all of a sudden they needed a bunch of money to plug a hole somewhere they don't have. That could do it. Maybe that would do it, but we'll see. All right, guys, that's my video, and I do believe we're just going to be grinding lower for quite a while, but I do think we should be going into a 3 of 3 moment where we'll get a pretty big sell-off soon. All right.